Hello everyone and welcome back. Today I thought that we would do a little tutorial on taking an everyday look like this to a more smoky nighttime look like this. So if you want to see how I went from that to this, stay tuned and keep watching. Alright, so let's get started. The first thing that I'm going to do is add a lot of depth to my contour. I'm using the Kat Von D Shade and Light palette. I'm going to use the lightest shade. I'm going to take that nice cool tone on a dense brush. It's actually a foundation brush, but I like this a lot for contouring my face just because it has a nice flat edge. So we're just going to go ahead and work that into the hollows of my cheeks. And I'm just making sure that everything is nicely buffed out. I'm going to add a few layers of this as we go forward, just because I really want to add that depth to it. But it's important to work just a little bit at a time. I'm going to move around the perimeter of my face. I'm not going to put quite as much around my forehead and temples. I just want a little bit to slim the face out as a whole. And then once we're done with that, we're going to move on. I am going to contour my nose because I really wanted to glam it up a little bit for this. So once I'm done with that part of my face, that's what we're doing next. I'm using the same brush, which is a very, very light touch, and just kind of grabbing that hollow around the bridge. And then of course bringing it down around the tip of my nose. Last but not least, we're going to add a little bit of shadow underneath the chin. And again, that's just going to slim everything down and glam everything up. Next up, we are going to bronze today. I am going to take my Anastasia Beverly Hills bronzer. I'm using the shade Tawny. I'm going to take that on a really big, fluffy, round brush. I'm going to dust that just above where my contour is to kind of warm up my face and bring it around to all of the mid-high points on my face. So we're going to go up around the temples a little bit, the tip of the nose, the chin, and then of course we'll put a teeny bit on the forehead. We want to make it look like we're not vampires. And for blush today, we're going to the tried and true Kat Von D and Lolita. I'm going to take just a tiny, tiny bit on an angled brush. This color is super, super pigmented. I do want a dramatic blush, but with this particular one, you really just need the tiniest amount even to get a dramatic look. It is very, very pigmented. So to highlight, I'm actually using one of my favorite drugstore highlighters. This is the NYX highlighter in Ritualistic. But before I get started putting my highlighter on, I am actually going to take my Marc Jacobs Recover Setting Spray, and I'm going to spray that on my cheek just a little bit. That way the moisture from the spray is going to pick up on the powder, and it's going to intensify the highlight just a little bit. So we're going to take a nice soft round brush, and I'm just going to go ahead and start dusting that on and building it up. And then we're going to repeat on the other side. If you want to get a really, really intense highlight, you can always use a liquid or cream highlighter and then spray with some setting spray and put a little bit of powder highlighter on top and make it super duper wet looking, very, very vibrant, very dramatic. We're going to go down the bridge of the nose. That's going to help slim it out a little more. And again, hitting the Cupid's bow to pop the pout, and just a tiny bit on the chin. Once we've got everything the way that we want it, we're going to go ahead and just blend it out a tiny, tiny bit. I want to make sure everything is softly blended and cohesive, so I'm going to take my trusty big old fluffy brush and just blend everything together. I'd rather overblend than underblend, just because I'd rather have to add product than have a look that's not cohesive. So now that we've got our complexion all set, we are going to get ready to move on to eyes. We're using the Saint and Sinner palette from Kat Von D. I'm going to start with this shade Sanctuary. We already have basically a transition shade from the soft daytime look that I'm wearing. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use Sanctuary to really build up that crease color and add a lot of depth and a lot of smoke to this look. And it's important to really pack it on because we are going for a dramatic look, but it's also very, very important that we blend it out. I'm going to keep the very edges just a little bit crisp. I'm not going to go just straight smoky look tonight. I'm going to do a nice crisp wing as well, so I just want to kind of leave a little bit of room for that wing to stand out. And again, just blending, blending, blending that color into the crease. Once I have the depth of color where I want it, I'm going to take a clean brush and just soften the edges and make sure that it's melding into that first color that we had applied from the earlier look. Sticking with that very same palette, we are going to take the shade Crucifix on a more precise crease brush that has a little bit of a point to it. What I'm going to do, I'm going to basically cover my lid with that color. I'm going to work that into Sanctuary just a little bit, but I really just want to pack a ton of depth onto my lid. So we're just going to keep adding and adding and then blending, blending, blending. And I am taking that all the way to the very inner corner of my eye. We're going to be using a darker color on top of this. But for now, I really want to make sure that I get full color saturation on both lids. That way when we start adding the darker color next, it's going to have an even base. And again, just make sure that you take care to keep that line on the outer corner just a little bit crisp. We're going to take the black shade Sabbath from the Saint and Sinner palette, and we're really going to pack that onto the lid just a little bit inside of where we put Crucifix. We want this to be a really dark, dark look, so you almost can't use too much, but it's important that you keep that just inside of where that dark brown went. And again, I'm taking that all the way from the inner corner to the outer corner and just buffing it together. As you work through it, if you do get a little heavy-handed or you get some, not exactly where you want it, it's alright if it's not perfect. Smoky eyes are very, very forgiving. Just go in with a clean brush like I'm doing and just buff it out a little bit so that you get the lines exactly the way you want them to be. I'm going to take Sanctuary again, and we're going to take that on a pencil brush this time, and I'm just going to work that into my lower lash line. I'm grabbing just a little bit of product at the time. I don't want too much because then you'll get a ton of fallout and there will be really no way to crisp it up as you work. So just make sure that you blend, blend, blend. Any spot on the inner corner that you don't have enough depth of color, just take that pencil brush and just work that in. That way you have a total continuous smoke all around the eye. I'm just going to do a little bit of blending with that same clean brush. And then we're going to just do a little bit of cleanup with a concealer brush, just in case there are any places that you got a little bit of fallout, or maybe the shadow went a little farther than you had wanted it to. And then any fallout that's around the nose or the cheeks, you can just buff that away. We're going to tight line the eyes. We're going to use the Kat Von D basket case. This liner is basically bulletproof, so I'm going to go ahead and line my waterline on the top and on the bottom. You don't want to tug on your lids. If you need to stabilize it a tiny bit to get in with a pencil that's that big, that's okay. But don't pull it down hard, because that's going to cause fine lines and wrinkles to develop prematurely, and we do not want that. Once you've got the lower line done, you're going to want to go ahead and do the upper waterline as well. That's going to add a lot of volume and a lot of depth to the lashes, and it's going to keep the look really nice and dark. The tricky part about this is not poking yourself in the eye. So what you want to do is just make sure that you are looking away from whatever part of your lid the pencil is on as much as you can. And just take your time and be really careful on this one. We're going to line our lash line now with a liquid liner. I am using the Kat Von D ink liner today. This is one of my absolute favorites. It's got a felt tip on it, so I find that it's really easy to get some precision with this. I always do my wings first, and I always do my wings with my eyes open. I have hooded lids, and it can be very tricky to do a winged liner. So I always make sure that I do the wings first, so that I know exactly where it's going to fall against my crease. Then I know that they're symmetrical, and I don't really have to worry about it too much as I go forward. The only thing I have to concern myself with is keeping the wing thin enough that you can still see all the hard work that I did. If you're not someone who does winged liner a lot, the most important thing that I can tell you is practice, but also work slowly. I have probably done winged liner 1,000 times, and I still will mess up sometimes if I don't take my time. So just pace yourself, do a little at a time, and it will come out right. But most importantly, don't be discouraged if it doesn't come out right the first few times, because it can be one of the trickier things to do, especially when you're working, that up close to your face. At this point, if you want to, you can add a little bit of mascara. I didn't, because my mascara is actually holding up pretty well from this morning. You can add lashes if you want to as well. I decided not to. For my lips, I am using one of the Urban Decay Vice lipsticks. This is a cream formula in the shade 69. I'm going to just kind of go ahead in my bottom lip, get some color saturation, and then line with the edge of the lipstick. Because I had a gloss on earlier, it's going to have a really nice shine, but my lips are also going to be a little plump just because it was a plumping gloss. So just take your time. Again, with a bright color like this, you want to make sure that you have nice crisp lines and that your work is neat. And don't be afraid to clean it up if you have to. I always do my bottom lip first. I find that my Cupid's bow could be a little bit of a pain in the neck sometimes, so I prefer to kind of do that in the middle. You don't have to, but I typically do overline my lips just a little bit to make them look more full. But once you've got your lips done, you're good to go. Sass your hair up a little bit, and you're ready for the night. That's it, guys. We're done. Alright, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I hope that you had fun, and I hope that you learned something new. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button down below. That way, next time we come back, you'll get notified. Bye!